The federal government, we know, has handed out hundreds of millions of dollars in aid since the pandemic began. Our investigative team at CBC News is taking a closer look at exactly where the money's gone. And they've called their investigation the Big Spend. Here's why. It's a very big number. Again, roughly $240 billion in the last 8 months. Money that's been used for things like buying medical supplies, PPE, covering lost wages, keeping struggling businesses afloat. Our team has been trying to follow the money since the pandemic spending began, and sometimes just accounting for all of that and getting questions answered is no mean feat. Our senior investigative editor, Diana Swain, is with us this morning. Great to see you, Diana, after a long time. Nice to be with you this morning. Tell us a little bit more about this investigation and what prompted you and the team to take this on.
Well, as you would know, Heather, anytime the federal government announces a big program, something in the range of millions of dollars, the media will bring some scrutiny and look for some accountability. But everything about this year has been different. And we all saw the Prime Minister come out day after day announcing one program after another. And just because of the chaos, really, of the moment, it felt like nobody was keeping track. And so by the time the fall came, we sat down as a team and thought, let's go through every public document that we can find. Let's start putting together how many announcements were made, how much money's actually been spent, and more critically, where is it all going?
The follow the money, as the saying goes. As you've done that, what have you found?
Well, there's about 107 different programs that have funneled money to various parts of the country, as you say, either for PPE or to keep businesses afloat or to keep people afloat. In fact, so much money has been spent that the federal government has been spending on average $40 million an hour since March. And where the money has gone is largely to individuals through programs like CERB, one that most people know about. At one point, about $80 billion had gone out the door. And in fact, in July, about 40% of all Canadian adults were either being supported by CERB or through the other program, CEWS, which is the acronym for the payroll support given to businesses. That's where things get really interesting and a little bit difficult in terms of getting answers and that accountability. The federal government came up with an interesting array of ways to say no to us when we asked for information about which businesses got money and how much. They simply will not give that up. Contrast that with the United States, where that information is posted publicly on the government's website. I could pick any state in the U.S. right now and see a whole list of the businesses and the money they got. I put that to the former parliamentary budget officer, Kevin Page. Here's what he had to say about the contrast.
There's no reason why we shouldn't see that level of transparency. I think there should be pressure on the government. Just to see that these are gaps that exist on, on specific kind of reporting. We had some gaps that were similar in 2009 and 10. The U.S. just was clearly a more transparent economy when it came to kind of taxpayer money. So we could do better. I think it's important that we highlight that type of information.
So you hear, Diana, from the former parliamentary budget officer, that call for increased transparency. Why is that so important for Canadians?
On the one hand, it's just the normal rigor that should be brought to any kind of government announcement when they're spending money. It's public money. But again, these are extraordinary times, and the federal government has conceded already that we're looking at $1 trillion debt that is going to take many, many years to manage. And so there needs to be that kind of accountability and scrutiny of the money as it goes along. But also in the United States example, we've already seen that because of that transparency that I talked about on the websites and other places where that information is available in an environment in which business still has a large role to play, some businesses have had to give the money back because it turns out they really weren't using it for its intended purpose or outside the spirit of saving businesses. There have been many businesses that have in fact done quite well through the pandemic and don't need that kind of support. But without knowing who they are, there's no way to bring that kind of scrutiny to it. And so it's about the dollar values and also trying to help Canadians manage through this incredible time, still knowing that there is some attention being paid and that the federal government didn't just get money out the door in a hurry without tracking where it's going on behalf of Canadians.